Let's learn something really quick.
If you got the time, absolutely. And you got the discipline, there's no question about it.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great practice to put into your everyday life, you guys.
You generally regret the things you don't do, not the things you did do. Let me say it that way.
Mic drop. This was just awesome. I love meeting my guests in person, and it's a whole nother animal, and the energy is just electric. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring incredible guests from all over the world, so sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is an author, a panelist, a facilitator. She is a self-kindness coach and a certified international coach. Please welcome Cari Frame. Cari, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am really excited to be here with you.
I'm excited to have you here. And so, as like all of my coaches, you've gone through your own struggles, your own evolution, and your own journey. And I just love it when my coaches are open and honest and vulnerable about what they've been through, because when you have those experiences, it really sets you up for success to help someone else that might be stuck in the middle of that journey that they can't get through.
It's so true. The journey informs the work, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I would probably best sum up my journey by saying, on the outside, I looked like a person who was doing pretty well. Like I seemed okay. But on the inside, I was really, really struggling. I had so much inner negativity in how I talked to myself, how I thought about myself. So it was like I was going through a battle. Every minute of the day, I was battling with the thoughts in my head saying that I'm a bad person, that I'm terrible, that I'm worthless, and all this kind of thing. And so naturally, when I met people who would kind of mirror what my inner voice was saying, I was almost attracted to them because I felt something familiar, they understand how terrible I am or something. And so that led me into a long-term abusive relationship. And other, lots of difficult situations that I know a lot of women especially have gone through. Yes. Yes. And so getting out of that, being a survivor of domestic abuse and realizing that so much of it, not that I'm blaming myself as the victim, right? That's not what this is, but acknowledging that how I talk to myself, how I related to myself, and to your words, kind of the labels inside myself, right? They made me susceptible to people who did not have the best intentions and that kind of thing. So I've learned, I got support, right? Professional support. And I learned how powerful it is when we start to change how we relate to ourselves. And so that is what makes me so completely dedicated professionally to bringing that support to as many people as possible.
I love that. And that's why Label Free was born, right? Because I was dealing and I was trying to overcome all those negative things that I have layered and accumulated over 40 years of my life, from my abusive father, from abusive boyfriends to just all the things. And it's I've had plenty of that negative self-talk. And I think that we are just automatically want to go to the negative. It's we are as humans, and especially women, automatically go to the negative instead of looking at the positive. And it's a real exercise to change that behavior, because we are just, I think that's just innate in us.
Yes, and it is it might start off small, but then our brain almost starts to build a habit.
Yeah.
Right? And then the life around us sometimes perpetuates the habit. And so it's this terrible sort of self-fulfilling cycle.
Yeah.
And so it absolutely is changeable. I think that's the thing that keeps me so committed to learning new skills to bring to the people I work with and everything, is that it's absolutely changeable. It's within your control.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I started focusing on the idea of self-kindness, because people who are really struggling within their minds, when somebody says to them oh, you just need to love yourself. You just need to take care of yourself and love yourself more, and then everything will be fine. And And the person who's like so mired in self-loathing, they're like, you might as well tell me to go to the moon.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't. How do you do that, right? So, whereas kindness is like this really approachable thing, because even when we're hard on ourselves, we're almost always able to be kind to someone else, right? Like we can reach kindness. And so then getting people to start exploring the idea of bringing just a little bit of kindness to how they relate to themselves. It's like the little gateway, and it's accessible, and people start to feel like, oh, I actually feel some relief. I don't feel quite as much weight of negativity on me. And so then that leads to a little bit of momentum in the right direction, right? Yeah, that's how the focus on self-kindness over self-love or even self-compassion, because for some people, like self-compassion and kindness, they're so similar, but people hear compassion and it almost gets too cerebral. They're like, it's a concept and I know that I can do it, but I have to like think my way to it. Whereas kindness is kind of innate. So
I think it makes it easier for people. It's more attainable, right? Instead of like saying, I think that the thought of doing all the work on yourself is probably overwhelming for some people. And if they just take it, like say, oh, I just need to be kind to myself, that's a little bit more like attainable, like not so heavy, right? And like, oh crap, I got to go through all this and unpack all this baggage and go through all this stuff, because that can be, if someone's in a really bad place, that can be really like heavy,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't want to carry this around, but like the idea, and I've never had a self-kindness coach on the show. So I love that. I think that it's like, it allows people just to kind of like, baby steps, give yourself some grace.
That's right.
Be kind to yourself, and it is doable, and it's attainable, and it's not as far away as you might think.
Right. Yeah, totally. And it's not just an idea. Like there's a very quick bridge from, okay, kindness, but like, how do I actually do that? Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's so many ways. And when I work with people individually, we find the ways that are closest to hand for them. And I don't know what's closest for them because I'm not in their life, right? But they know. They're like, oh, you know what? I could probably maybe talk to my best friend more often because she's always wanting me to get together. But I'm kind of sometimes stuck in feeling bad about myself, and I think she doesn't really love me. But you know what? Maybe I could actually call her back a little more often. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Like it's not like changing your whole life overnight. It's these tiny little shifts. They actually really do change the inner landscape quite dramatically.
But you said something that was very interesting to me, like the negative self-talk, that you would think something your best friend wouldn't want to be there to support you. So then why would you call them your best friend? And so it's like, we are so, as women, we're so self-deprecating. Like we don't want to appreciate all these beautiful things that we are. Instead, we really lean on the negative stuff, like, oh, I'm not worthy. Where'd that lie come from?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Powerful.
Where'd that lie come? Like, I believe me, I had to go through my own journey. Like I've gone through a lot of self-growth, a lot of work on myself, where I thought that way a long time ago. But where does that lie come from? And why do we believe it? You know what I mean? And if we have a best friend, someone that we trust and we call a best friend, why do we feel like we can't lean on them when that's all they want to do is be there for us?
And sometimes I find folks get in therapy, and no disrespect for therapy, like professional therapy whatsoever. Yeah. But sometimes the why of why we do these things becomes like a 3-year-long project, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so sometimes my focus with people is like, okay, maybe we don't know why right now, but we know that it's happening. And we know that it is ultimately you believing a lie in this moment when there are facts all around you to prove that lie wrong. Let's do a little work on connecting to the facts. Like, your friend literally tells you that she loves you. When you need her, she's there. When you're with her, you feel good.
Yeah.
She says when she's with you, she feels good. Like that's 4 very powerful facts. Why don't we just sit with those facts for a minute and just feel how good those are, and let that sort of maybe take a little more precedence in your mind than the lie that is there for who knows what reasons right now. Right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
oftentimes it's kind of a practice of bringing facts plus mindfulness,
Yeah.
where people kind of go, oh, yeah, in this moment, I have a friend who loves me. I love her. She really makes me feel worthy. And I'm going to just sit with that reality for a minute. Let it sink in.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I love that.
sometimes I say to people, like, let the truth sink in like a kind of medicine.
Yeah.
Because when we're in our heads and believing the negative thoughts, we are completely disconnected from the truth of the
Yeah.
moment.
Oh, yeah.
So there's medicine in just being in the truth.
Yeah. Are your clients women that have gone through maybe a similar struggle like yourself, maybe have gone through or in the midst of some kind of abusive situation or something like that? Because I think that a lot of women that are in that situation that are allowing that to happen to themselves, are probably feeling stuck, and they are just so probably beaten down and have I had no clue on how to dig out of that whole darkness, right? I mean, because I've been there, and it's a hard place to be until you decide, like, I'm worth more than this.
Yes. And that is so often the first truly changing thought, is when you realize, you look around and you feel this relationship you're in and you're like, I don't think I belong here.
Yeah. No, I don't need to be here. Bye. Bye, bitch. No, I'm sorry. Tell that guy or that loser, whoever it is,
Yeah.
feeling, or I'm better than you, okay?
Yes. And so, yes, I absolutely do support women who are just starting to think maybe this isn't healthy, right? Bringing the clarity to that place, all the way through to women that are survivors, but they're still sort of feeling some of the after effects, right? But I will say too that I also support men, people of all genders, and even different journeys. Like people that are just really hard on themselves,
Yeah.
but they're good people. Those people that they're good people, and you try to give them a compliment, and they don't just sort of like demurely sort of say, oh, thank you. Like, they literally tell you why they don't deserve that compliment. Yeah. Those are the people that I'm so grateful to work with and to help, because they're good people, and they deserve to feel good within themselves, right? But so often they don't.
It's very sad. I mean, everybody should feel good about themselves. And like the angel wings behind you and your soft, sweet voice is very fitting. And I can see where you offer a lot of comfort and offer a very safe space for someone that might be struggling with these negative patterns, what have you, that you allow them to really slowly move into a place of kindness and probably confidence too.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it comes, right? When someone stops believing the lies that their inner negativity is feeding them, and then they start realizing, like, hey, I am actually a good person, and I can actually believe the good things that the people around me are saying, and then they start doing more of the things that feed who they are, which brings the confidence. Because confidence doesn't come from like, just looking in the mirror and saying, I'm a good person. Right? It comes from being in your life and really acting as the person that you're made to be. And then you go, oh wow, it's happening. I'm doing it. It feels good. I'm pretty sure I deserve this. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. And it's a lifelong journey, right? Especially
Always,
if you come from any like abuse in your past. You're not every day is going to be a great day. And, like if I have a bad day, a lot of that negative self-talk will like creep up, and I have to actively work on reaffirming, like, and doing like positive affirmations and really like focusing on wanting to be positive, or else I can just totally take over my day, and I'm sure anybody that's listening, if you're listening to this and you're going through something like this, and, obviously we're going to talk about how you can get connected with Cari, but you don't have to live in that space. And I'm sure you give people tools that if they go backwards and they need to figure out how to get out of that negative spiral, because it can become a spiral, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And your brain and even your sort of your mind, body, spirit can get a little bit not addicted, but it's a habit. And it, that idea of the neural pathway, right? It's like a groove in your brain. And if you've gone that groove of spiral, the negative thoughts, it can feel like you can't get out of that pattern. One of the biggest tools that I use in a lot of different ways, I would say, is kind of mindfulness. Because so often the cure for being up in here is to bring yourself here, this moment, where you are right now, where you're sitting, what's around you, what's true, what's real, right? And I, like you said, I still have days too where I'll get to lunchtime and I'll go, God, why do I feel like my bra weighs 100 pounds? Oh, it's because I had a thought this morning, and then that thought led me down that old path of feeling negative or believing something negative. And it kind of was running at a subconscious level, but it was still affecting how I feel and how I show up. And so bringing it forward, my favorite question is, when you realize something's going on, what is my brain trying to tell me right now?
Yeah.
Because it's not that there's judgment or oh, I'm so dumb. How could I go back to this old pattern, right? Because that's where we basically just add judgment on top of negativity.
Yeah.
Which is just the worst. Yeah. So instead, it's oh, I see what's happening. Okay, wow, this is reminding me of where I was a few years ago. Okay. What is
you get triggered
to tell me? Yeah.
Yeah.
You get triggered.
Yeah.
That question, instead of being judgmental on yourself and oh, I'm so dumb that I'm still dealing with this. It's okay, it's here. That's fine. I have no judgment. There's no good or bad about this. It's happening. It's here. How can I be more in this moment instead of maybe where I got triggered to from years ago?
Right. Yeah. I call it processing. Let's just process this and move forward.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay here. So I don't think I've ever asked this question. So what if someone that needs someone like you is in this vicious cycle of, this negativity, feeling very down, insecure, and not being kind to themselves?
Yeah.
If they never work on fixing that, what could ultimately happen to them?
There's a whole spectrum of things that can happen. At the very, very farthest end of the spectrum is suicide, right? Because when the inner pain is too much and there is no hope or sense of ability to change it, right? And I worked on a suicide hotline here in my city for 5 years. I talked to a lot of people who were in that place. And again, there's no judgment there, right?
No, not at all.
No judgment, because we're all on this spectrum of, over here is people who love themselves and who have super high self-worth and everything. In the middle is where most of the population is, where we're I have some self-worth, I have some self-confidence, but I also struggle,
Yeah.
And then as you get to the other end, there's a lot of people in there where, they're struggling with it.
Yeah.
But we're all on the same spectrum. So how can we have judgment?
No, obviously this is a judgment-free zone.
Right. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
being someone that was, that worked for the suicide hotline, and I think that I have an idea, I'm not judging, but an assumption of what that would look like. There's probably more people calling in than most people know.
I mean, not every caller is fully suicidal, but the calls of what I would call people that are in distress. They're in distress, whether it's, a lot of times it would be, I think I might be in an unhealthy relationship, but I can't see it clearly enough. Can we talk through it? All the way to people that are imminently in danger of harming themselves. So the hotline that I worked on was, we were receiving calls from the entire spectrum. And the calls, if just to give you, and it's not a huge city that I live in, but there were at least 6 volunteers on 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And we're almost always busy.
Wow. So, what my point in asking that question is just to let anyone that's listening right now, or you're watching us, you guys will know that
Right.
you're not alone if you're feeling in this desolate place, because I think when people are in that negative place, they feel so alone, and they feel like they have no hope and they have no one to help them come out of it. So if you're feeling that way, or you're kind of coming out of that, Cari's going to let you guys know where you can reach her. Cari, where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more working with you?
Sure. So for working with me specifically, the easiest way is either to find me on the socials at Self Kindness Coach. You can also go to my website, cariframe.com. I have free quizzes on there if you're like, I don't know if this is the kind of help I need. There's quizzes on there. I will have a book coming out because I know that for a lot of people that are struggling with this, reaching for direct support can feel like too much. But reading a book or watching some videos is more accessible place to start. So the book will hopefully be out in 2025. Maybe in our notes as well on the show, we can also put a couple of the local or the international hotline links because those are there too. And those guys are there 24/7. So everybody deserves that support.
Absolutely. So you guys, you are not alone. I'm going to put all those links in the show notes and a number. If you are struggling with anything right now and you need some support, go call that hotline, get some support. You are valuable. You belong here. You have gifts that the world needs. So just know that there's someone there to give you the support that you need. Cari will be there. You can always contact me.
Yeah.
You might not like my approach. And I'm like, let's snap out of it. No. Seriously. All that will be in the show notes, you guys. Cari, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
That no matter what your mind might be telling you, you are worthy of love and care and kindness, and you can do it.
Yeah, for sure. Let her be your angel, because she's obviously, I think she's sent on this planet to be an angel for people. Cari, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your gifts and your view on allowing people to give themselves kindness, because I think that's a huge thing. And it's a very small, positive way to move in the right direction when life can seem so unsurmountable and just overwhelming. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for everything you do as well. The network that you've built is so supportive, and I'm really grateful for it.
Thank you so much. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu, Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.